Welcome to A Change of Heart podcast. I'm your host, Angel Walston. And in this space, we navigate life together. We ask the hard questions like, what is the truth you haven't told? But most importantly, we grow together. And sometimes that leads to a change of heart. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of A Change of Heart podcast. I am Angel Walston and I'm joined today by one of my best friends, Jermia. And we're going to be talking about what therapy taught me. But before we jump into that, we're going to start off with the question of the day. And then we're going to have a little best friend tag. But I did not send Jermia the questions in advance because I want her to give her first answer, which I'm a little nervous about myself. But the question of the day is, what is your favorite quality about yourself?
My favorite quality is I'm caring.
You are.
I would have to say I'm caring.
I would say for me, my favorite quality about myself is, for the most part, I feel like I'm very easygoing. Like, it takes a lot to get me upset. It takes a lot to get me worked up about things. It has its good and bad to it, but overall, there's a lot of positive of being pretty chill, pretty easygoing. So that is what I would say. You all know the drill by now. If you're watching this on my YouTube channel, you can leave your answer in the comment section. Or if you are watching this on my Instagram stories, you can put it in the questions box at Angel C. Walston. All right, so we're going to do a little best friend tag to help people to get to know you better, Jermia, but also to see how well we know each other. Okay. So the first question, and we can both answer these. How and when did you and your best friend meet? I'm not going to lie, I don't really know the answer to this.
I think it was in school. I mean,
I know we first met in middle school at some point. I don't know what grade, but I feel like we just met because of classes.
Yeah, we had all the same classes, even in high school.
So that's how we came to know one another.
Yes.
What was your first impression of me?
I can't remember. How many years has that been?
Hey, do not age us.
I don't know. I didn't have an impression.
I know my first impression of you was that you were really smart. And I don't know, I feel like you were like an adult in middle school. Like you just came across like way more mature than the rest of the people at John Rolfe. And I don't know, you just had this thing about you that was like, not that you were better than everybody else by any means, but I said not that. Okay. But you just had a thing about you that it was like you just came across like you were like not one of the teachers, but you did have like an air about you that was just older than your age for sure.
Yeah. That goes back to being a parent child. So we'll dive into that today. But
we'll take that deep dive.
I would say Angel, are we talking third person? Okay. But Angel.
No, we're not. We're not about to Derek Jackson these people.
Okay. Anywho, you were very like cute. You always had cute hairstyles. In high school, we always like wore like heels. Like every day was like a fashion show. So
that's why my back hurts now.
It was very cutesy. Yeah, that's all. I mean, that's my first impression, I think. Yeah.
What is your favorite memory together?
Our favorite memory has to be going to Cancun for the first time together.
Yes.
That was hands down my favorite trip. Like, it was a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, come back Monday, but literally we did everything in those 2 days. Like,
we really did.
It was so much fun, and Angel talked all this mess. Yeah, I'm gonna jump in this. I'm gonna get in this. I'm gonna jump in the Mayan sinkhole. I said, okay, I'm down. Everybody clapping me on, and they're like, "Oh, your friend coming?" Angel said, "I'm firm in my no.
I'm confident in my no."
I'm doing all that, and then gassed me up. So, but that was a lot of fun. I mean, all of our trips are fun. But I think Cancun was really fun. The food was really good. It was just Shout out to Blue Gecko if you ever go. We ate there every day.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Yeah. That's my favorite memory of us as well. Eating at Blue Gecko. I want to say it was the first night we got lost on the bus, and we just like randomly got off at a stop, and there was a sign that says something about like beware of alligators. And Jermia was like, Angel. So yeah.
And she's walking so slow. I'm like,
we'll be fine.
We're in the middle of Mexico. Get the walking.
We'll be fine. But yeah, Mexico, hands down, is my favorite memory together. What is my dream job? You probably don't know this because I've never fully articulated this.
I think you definitely want to, the platform you have now, I definitely think you want to expand upon that. I definitely think you want your change hearts to see more people and impact more individuals. I don't think you have a dream job. I think you just want to work for yourself.
Yeah, not working for somebody else.
I talk about this all the time. Every job we've ever had, we've hated. So, so I think it's just working for yourself. Working for yourself.
Yeah. I would say my dream job would be able to help other women to discover their purpose and to be able to like be authentically themselves and just live out their life as they were created to. Your dream job is to be Miss Esquire, attorney, Jermia, attorney at law.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's happening.
Keep me in prayer, Saints. Keep me in prayer.
What does your friend like to do on their day off?
I feel like you don't have a day off. Like, I'll call you. You're like, yeah, I'm off today. I'm like, so what time did you get up? 6 o'clock. I'm like,
early bird gets the worm.
I don't think you have a day off. I know you like to enjoy like doing content for change hearts. I know you like to watch a lot of YouTube.
That is true.
You don't really like to go anywhere in particular. So I would say home, but when you're
continue.
When you're home, you're like busy.
Yeah.
I don't think you give yourself downtime.
Well, I feel like even though I get up early, like getting up early for me doesn't feel like I'm up early. It's like I'd rather start my day early. So it doesn't feel like, I don't know, like, I wake up like this for work and now I'm just like up early on the weekends. I don't know. I just like to start my day early. Mm-hmm. But I would say like I do enjoy watching The Office. That I do on my day off. I enjoy taking Gizmo for walks. That's like our little special
zookeeper.
Our little special time together. I like being able just to have like, this sounds like, I won't say it sounds bad because this is what I enjoy to do for myself. I enjoy being alone because I feel like a lot of components of my life require me to be around people all the time. So on my days off, it's like, I'm not interested in like going anywhere, doing anything. I just want to like be by myself and not have to talk to anybody. So
I agree.
I would say, what do you like to do on your days off? I feel like you like to have like, you like to brunch.
Heavy brunch.
Yes. You like to get like your mani and petties and stuff. Mimosas.
Heavy on sip. Bottomless.
I feel like you like to travel on your days off.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
Get out of town. That's all I got. That's it. That sums it up. Who is more extroverted? Who is introverted? I am definitely the introverted friend, for sure. Jermia's never met a stranger. She's a whole social butterfly. Everyone is her friend. Everywhere she goes, she has a very kind heart. She's very kind. Everywhere she goes, she talks to everyone. How are you doing? How's your day going? You doing okay? And it's like, girl, come on. But that's because she has a sweetheart.
Comes from those troubled days working at UCrops when I thought my life was over at 15 and 16. And I really remember like people being extra kind to me. Like, hey, are you okay? How's your day? And I tried to carry that on.
It's funny, I don't remember anybody asking me that.
That was like the boot camp of life. If you could work at UCrops in customer service on Laburnum Avenue, you can do any job in the world.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah. Who is my celebrity crush? I don't know if you know this.
I don't think I know. I don't.
Any guesses?
You don't really like a lot of
men in general. Touche.
Okay, do you remember that man from Brown Sugar? Is it Sugar?
Tay Diggs?
No.
No, girl, no. Oh, let me see.
Sugar. On
Are you talking about Boris Kojo?
No, he's really chocolate.
He's really chocolate.
Sugar. He's on Sugar.
Queen Sugar?
Queen Sugar, yeah.
Kofi?
Yes.
He is young. That is a baby right there. He's cute, but he is young.
He's cute.
Like, yeah, my baby brother cute. He's young.
I seen him like in person, honey. That is not my baby brother. Okay? I seen him at Essence Fest. I said,
he's young. He's cute, but no.
Yeah. You don't talk about celebrities like that.
We don't talk about it. Mariah and Gopi know who it is.
Who
Michael
is it?
Ealy. I love me some Michael Ealy. Who would yours be? Initially I was thinking of M'Baku from Black Panther, but
hold on, the man
you like him big and thick. Let's be honest.
The man that came out with like the beard and like the white paint on his chest.
Yeah, who was barking.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. But I don't know if that's your celebrity crush, but that was the first person that came to mind. But I don't know if you have one.
No, I don't.
I was gonna say I've never like heard you be like, "Ooh, this guy."
Someone of that stature, absolutely.
Yeah, we know. What is my favorite color? This is sort of kind of a trick question.
I feel like you don't have a favorite color per se. No.
Yeah, no. I don't really have a yeah. I feel like yours is not a color per se. I feel like it's like a print. like what you have on. I feel like you like cheetah print, you like leopard print. Like I feel like you like neon.
Lemon juice. Tell them put white on there first, and then.
Is that right though?
It is.
Okay.
I mean, and orange. You know.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's fair. What is a unique thing about your friend that only a few people know?
I think you enjoy the simple things of life.
That is fair.
I think that you don't require much.
But more than the bare minimum.
Oh, thank you. Mm-hmm. But you enjoy just being still. And I feel like that's something that I would like to do. Like, you're okay with just being still, but I'll give you an example. We went to the beach one time, and I had an umbrella.
Oh, God.
And so we drive 3 hours to Ocean City. We're in the car. I'm happy. I got a cooler. I got I plan on everything. We get there. It's so windy. Everybody's umbrella is off, like flying away. Mine flew away and it broke in half. And you're like, okay. And I said, I've got to fix this. So I'm like literally trying to put together. And you're like, Jermia. And so in that moment, it just made me realize, like, let me just be at peace with the fact that I made it here safely. But I could not get past the fact that my brother, like, but wherever we are, Angel finds that time to be still. So I think that's something that's really important Yeah.
Oh, I like that. That's not what I thought. I don't know what I thought you were going to say, but that's not what I thought you were going to say. But
Yeah.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
I would say, I think, and I mean this in a good way, so let me preface it with that. I feel like you are more sensitive than people think that you are, in the sense that you have a good heart, you have a very soft heart, you want what's best for people. Your intentions are always for like what is best for people. And I don't think people always realize how, I think like just in general, we're used to like kind of I don't want to say putting on, I'm not saying like you pretend or anything like that by any means, but we are used to like putting on of just being like, I don't need anybody, I'm strong, I'm this, I'm that. And just kind of feeling like at times that like the sensitive side equals weakness. But I think that you have a sensitive side that is portrayed through strength, in you always wanting to make sure that people are good, always wanting to make sure that people are taken care of, just always thinking of other people outside of yourself. And also just knowing that, I'm not saying your feelings can be hurt easily, but when you like really love someone, when you really care about someone, that sensitive side of you, like things can really hit you because of you having a sensitive spirit. And I don't think that's a bad thing.
Yeah.
I need more of that.
And even like the word sensitive, like that can be perceived as negative.
Yeah, that's why I gave my disclaimer.
I like the word passionate.
Okay. Yes, you're a very passionate person.
I mean, not saying what you said was,
no.
I don't take it that way, but yeah, you're right. I have a lot of bark and my bite. I secretly cry to Angel. I'm like, and she said this to me, but in front of her, I'm like, I'm like, oh yeah, absolutely. I would agree with that.
Okay, last question, and then we're really going to jump into it. Describe your best friend's dream partner.
1, someone who is God-fearing. 1, 2, someone who has money. And I don't want to say, because Angel will always have her own money, but someone who is financially comfortable and stable to the point where money is not always a constant conversation. Someone who's funny, someone who likes to travel, someone that likes her for her. In school, all the guys always loved Angel. They did. So she definitely doesn't have, issue with that. She's a beautiful girl, beautiful woman. I just think sometimes guys don't know what they want.
They don't know what to do with it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, got it. And so...
And that's on per.
Thank you, city girl. And so I always want you to be happy in whatever capacity that looks like. And, we always say our kings are snails that are traveling the Sahara Desert and they keep getting lost. So it's on the way, and it's going to be everything you want and more. I think just someone that just matches you. Yeah.
Amen. Hallelujah. I receive it. I would say for you, someone who is tall and thick. Well, like I'm thick.
Heavy on thick.
Yes. And a Black man. We know that for sure. Has to be a Black man. And you want someone who is kind, someone who can be a leader in the sense that they can take the initiative, but they also allow you to be who you are. Someone who is financially stable, someone who is driven, ambitious, someone who is intelligent, someone who likes to travel, and who, I feel like you would like someone who's spontaneous, who would be like, pack a bag, you'll know where we're going, we getting on a flight, grab your passport.
Yeah. I feel like, Angel, we should just date. I just feel like, I say that all the time. I'm like, look. Oh
my gosh.
That's another podcast. We're so compatible.
We're not compatible as you're not a man, so there's that.
Can't have it all.
I think, yay. But yes, I think that that is what your dream partner would be.
Absolutely.
All right. So now that you all have gotten to know a little bit about my friendship with Jermia and a little bit more about Jermia, we are going to talk about what therapy has taught us. And I am someone who is very much so team therapy. I really believe that every single person should go to therapy because I feel like it can help you to really just give language to some things that you may not have. And it helps you to be able to really come into who you are. And so I wanted to have this topic because I know of a couple of people who I've had conversations with who are either interested in going to therapy or they feel like I should just rely on church and that is my form of therapy, or they feel like there's still a stigma, which there is associated with therapy, especially within the Black community. So I wanted us to have this conversation because I feel like a lot of people can benefit from it. So before we jump into our lessons individually from therapy, I did just kind of want both of us to give a little kind of like a brief overview, a recap of what our experience has been with therapy for anybody who may be interested. You may not know where to start, where to look, all of that. So what has your experience with therapy been, Jermia?
So I would have to say, thank you so much, Angel, first for just allowing me to come on today and share my journey with therapy. This is great. Thank you. I would say my journey with therapy started in high school. My parents separated and it was my senior year of high school. It was devastating. And I told my mom, I said, I really want to talk to a professional about how I'm feeling. And that happened. I found a therapist, and I didn't connect with her. I just didn't feel she understood who I was. After that, I went to ODU, Old Dominion University. And so there I met a Black therapist, Black woman with like long locks, Dr. Thompson, and she was incredible. And my journey to self-discovery, my journey to self-love truly began in therapy with her. I had the opportunity to have her as my therapist throughout the 4 years I was at Old Dominion. And it wasn't until I went to therapy weekly that I was able to discover things maybe I didn't share with anybody or things that I didn't think was even important. But we randomly I met her in the hallway in student union and she said, oh, come on by my office. And it wasn't like, hey, you need help, come by my office. But she was just in the hallway and she was like, hey, my office is here, come by anytime. And so I think that approach to it made me less nervous about it, I guess. But our relationship has definitely blossomed. We still keep in contact to this day. She's the reason why I graduated from Old Dominion University. Our relationship is definitely the foundation of who I am as a young adult. So I would definitely say therapy has been very meaningful, but also finding the right person that matches you, and someone who you feel that can relate to your experiences. And a white woman, Asian woman, or someone of another color than me may not be able to understand my childhood experiences or my life. And so I think that's important as well.
I think that's a really good point to bring up in regards to finding a therapist that fits you. For me, I started seeing a therapist maybe like 4 years ago. It was right when I moved back to Richmond. And at that time, I started to see a therapist because I moved back to Richmond. I left the church that I had been attending for 11 years at that point, where I was living at before. I'd been there for 11 years. The church that I left was on good terms. So it wasn't even like, oh, I hate this or I don't want to be here anymore. Like, I actually really loved that church. I had quit my job. And then I was also moving back home with my mom and her husband at the time. And so it was just a lot of transition for me. And I felt very just anxious and overwhelmed about everything. I was also starting a new job. So it was just like a whole lot of stuff happening all at once. And so the first therapist that I met with, it was a woman. I don't even remember what her name is, which is terrible. But I remember just feeling like she was good, but it wasn't quite what I needed. A lot of the conversation was focused on self-care. And at that time, it's like, yes, I know self-care is important, but that was not like the key to my issues at that point. And so we pretty much just kind of like, I phased out of therapy at that point. And so I think I met with her maybe like once a month for 6 months. And then I went a couple of months, maybe like 6 to 9 months without having a therapist. And then my mom went through a divorce, and that in itself caused a whole lot of emotions, issues, and all of that. And so at that point, I decided to look into therapy again. And Jermia actually had recommended someone to me, and no shade, great recommendation. I did not like that man. No. And I will say this, in thinking about getting a therapist, it is important to recognize your triggers. So for me personally, I will also add during that time, with my mom going through her divorce and me having a lot of issues regarding her ex-husband, a lot of the conversations that we had, the fact that my therapist at that time was a man, that was triggering in itself for me. And so that situation, I had 2 sessions and then I canceled all the rest of my appointments with him. And then a couple of months later, I don't know what made me think like, I need a life coach. Like, I don't need a therapist at this point. I need a life coach. And so I went on Instagram and searched, I think I may have searched either life coaches or Black life coaches. And I came across my current life coach, Shanita, who is literally the best thing that has ever happened to me. And she is also a licensed therapist. So she does therapy, life coaching, all the shebang. Let me say this, just in case anybody wants to reach out and get her. I hired her as a life coach. That is what she advertises her business as. So don't be like, Angel referred me to you as therapy. All I'm saying is that in her life coaching, we have had some therapy sessions, okay? So just throwing that out there. But that honestly was the best decision for me. And I would say maybe the first year, it was very much so focused on my goals, different projects that I was working on, even building and starting the podcast. And then maybe like a year in is when things kind of transition. Although she's still definitely my life coach, we start to have more conversations of depth and really start talking about my life and start having them sessions where you crying and all of that. So it has definitely been a journey, but as I was saying earlier, I definitely feel like therapy is something that everybody should try. Everybody should go to at least one session, but also understand that if you go to a therapist and y'all don't mesh, y'all don't like each other, it is nothing wrong with trying someone else. Because I think sometimes we feel like it's a one size fits all type of thing, and it's not. And so don't be afraid to try someone else. Don't be afraid to have to start over with someone else. It's a relationship that you're building. It does take time. But when you find the person, you know that's your person. So, all right. So we're going to go through and talk about 5 of our lessons that we have learned from therapy. And I'll start us off with the first one. Okay. So one of the things that I feel like therapy has taught me is that I am very self-aware, yet I can also be oblivious to things that I need to correct. And so I realized, that although I am someone who I give great advice, as y'all know through the podcast, I am able to recognize things in my life that I need to work on, that I need to improve. The areas that I am not aware of, the areas that I need to be corrected in, that I don't view as error, that does not disappear just because I'm very self-aware. And being in therapy having a life coach has really helped me with that, because full disclosure, in my session last week, I was talking to Shanita about a project that I'm working on right now. And I was telling her, like, I feel like I don't know enough. I feel like I need to do more. I feel like I need to do this. I feel like I need to do that. And she's like, girl, what? Like, she told me to make a list of pretty much make a list of like my resume for myself of everything that I've done, everything that I've accomplished, which feels very weird in itself. But I share that because a lot of times we can feel as though, because we are self-aware, not that we know everything, but it can put us in a position to not necessarily realize the areas that we are not fully aware in, because you can be self-aware yet not be 100% self-aware. You can be very self-aware and still have areas that other people can see that need to be changed, or that you need to be encouraged in, strengthened in, whatever it might be, that you are not aware of yourself. And therapy has definitely helped me to be able to see like the holes in my vision. Like, I feel like I'm someone who's very confident in themselves. I feel very confident in what I'm capable of doing, but there's also areas of my life where it's like how I view myself is very differently from how someone from the outside looking in views me. And you need someone who's unbiased to have those conversations with. So that would be my first thing.
I do want to comment on what you said about unbiased. And so going to a therapist, a person is a third party. Like, they don't know you from a can of paint. And so they're just strictly going off of your experience and what you're telling them. And it's not a friend, it's not a family member. And I think that's important. So I'm glad you brought that up. I would have to say one lesson I learned is that my experiences really happened. And not talking about that experience is not honoring it. And Angel knows there was a situation, and I wanted to keep it a secret. Like, I didn't really want to tell anybody. And Angel was like, but you not speaking on it is not honoring it. And it's making you feel even worse. And so in therapy, it just taught me that whatever you suppress or whatever you think you need to hide is really gonna hurt you even more. And so I think therapy has definitely given me a larger voice. And I do want to explore this with my therapist, Miss Flowers, love her. How much now everything I see or experience, am I looking too much into it, or am I now self-aware, like you said, and I'm now easy to point out things that are not okay?
Yeah.
And so I think now it's like I'm way more passionate, because I'm like, oh no, in therapy, that does not honor me. And so like you're always just on this like journey to honoring yourself and honoring that voice. So that is definitely one thing I've learned from therapy, is just to continue to speak on whatever disrespected you or dishonored you until you're able to heal from it.
Yeah. And I think that's so necessary, just for the simple fact that a lot of times growing up in a family situation, a lot of times we're told like, keep things in the family. And so it can put you in a position to invalidate a lot of your experiences, or to feel like you have to suppress and keep a lot of things in. And being able to have those conversations and to even just relearn how you process experiences really helps in how you encounter things, how you deal with things, how you process things, how you communicate things, and also what you allow, because some things we've allowed based off of being told, hush, don't talk about this, don't say this. And so we can be in a position where we accept things to be a norm that's not. That's good. My second thing for my lesson from therapy is to be kind to myself, and about self-care. So one of the things that Shanita says to me after every session is, have a great week, and Angel, don't forget to be kind to yourself. And that has been something that's huge for me because I'm 100%, I'm an overworker, I'm an overperformer. I do the most all the time. Like I'm always doing something. And for a long time, I forget what episode it was, but I talked about struggling with people pleasing. And so something that I am still really much so learning is to be more intentional about my no and saying no, not overcommitting myself, not taking on more than I need to. And so in being kind to myself, it's really required me to take time for myself, to really create the spaces where I have time where it's just for me. I said before that, well, I said earlier that I don't get a lot of time where it's literally just me, like I'm the only one. And something that I've been doing, I think we talked about this, I actually can't remember, but I always want to make sure that people around me are good. And I realized, so I think I've shared with you all before, no, y'all should know by now. My niece lives with my sister and I live together. So my niece is here. And so it's always like a lot going on in here. Always gets a little loud around here. And so I realize more so than I've ever before, I have a greater respect for people who have children. My friends know I will try and call you when I'm in the car somewhere, because when I am home, it is hard for us to have conversations because Carly most of the time is in my room. So I'm trying to make sure she's not putting anything in her mouth, that she's not eating anything she's not supposed to, that she's not licking the floor, that she's not doing all kinds of things. And so it's like, I'm trying to listen to what you're saying, but I'm almost like, Carly, don't do that. And it can be very distracting. And so I'm always trying to make sure that I would catch my friends. I have a 45-minute commute to and from work. I'll call my friends on my way home from work. So that'll be my time to catch up. And I realized that although like my intention was in the right place of like, I want my friends to know that they're loved, that I'm thinking of them, that I care about them, that 45 minutes to and from work was the only time that I had where it was just me to be quiet, just me to not have to talk to anybody, not have to be anything to anybody, but to just be Angel. And so I've now tried to be intentional, and I don't do it all the time, but more intentional about using that 45 minutes to be kind to myself and to decompress from my day versus being like, and I know like I have friends who understand that. But it's just like little reminders like that. I've been taking a whole lot more time off from work. I deserve at least one day, multiple days off every month.
I'm super proud of you, Angel, because you aren't thinking, I'm like,
I know. I have taken several days off every single month this year, and we shall continue to do that because that's what PTO is for. So that is definitely something that has helped me. And my life coach, Shanita, her, program is Ceaseless Pursuit Coaching. And her specialty is teaching Black women how to self-care. Like that is literally what her framework is for life coaching. And it has just really been helpful to just be mindful of creating spaces for myself, creating time for myself, to love myself in my love language, which is quality time with me, and to be able to be present for myself not even so much just as much, more than I am present for other people. Because in order for me to be a good friend, a good sister, a good daughter, a good aunt, a good anything, I have to be good and be kind to myself first.
Wow.
That's all.
That's the podcast.
That's it, folks.
Have a good day. I agree. I totally agree with you. Definitely heavy on doing things that mirror your love language. So I thought that was great. I'm taking a lot of notes over here. Taking notes, getting kind of full. I want to add one more thing. Mental health therapy is extremely important, and it is just as important as going to the doctor, going to the dentist. And my family experienced a traumatic death. My cousin was killed, and it was just rocked our family's world. And I wasn't going to therapy prior to that. But I like to think of therapy as, if you know that your arm is broken, you won't just sit at home, right? You're going to go to the doctor to get it fixed. I knew my thoughts were broken. I knew my heart was broken. I knew I was broken as a person. And so I said, let me go to a trained professional who's going to be able to help me with that. And I think mental health is one of those things that you can't see. And so you can clearly see your arm is broken, right? but maybe your thoughts are abstract, but they're very real. And my coworkers at work even noticed, and they were like, Jamia, you're just not yourself. And I knew I wasn't myself, but it wasn't until I was ready to actually say, I need to talk to somebody. And so I reached out to one of my friends, and she knew a grieving counselor. And so it wasn't until I started having sessions with Miss Flowers that I was able to heal. And I still have rough days. I have rough weeks. But it was so important to go get help. And if you don't go get help, it is going to impact your everyday life. Not sleeping well, not eating, and everything starts here in your mind, your thoughts, everything. So I would say immediately when you feel like you're not okay, it's okay not to be okay. That's one of Angel's slogans. But it's definitely okay not to be okay. And there's nothing wrong with that. But definitely going to a trained professional who can help fix your heart, your thoughts, however you're feeling is important. The same way in which you'll go to the doctor. You want the best doctor to work on your body. So that's what I think one of my lessons from therapy has taught me.
No, that's a good point. And I like what you said in regards to when you get ready to seek out help, because I think with anything, if someone is encouraging you or telling you you should go and do this, you should go and see someone, you can go, but it becomes beneficial when it's something that you want, when it's something that you're willing to receive. Like that's when it really becomes beneficial. And I do believe that even if you go and you may not necessarily have the intention of like, oh, I think this is bogus, or I'm not going to get anything of this, you might get hit and be like, oh, okay. But it really does make a difference when you want it for yourself and you want the healing process to start. So that's good.
And also, I want to note, maybe this is my third one. I'm jumping out of sequence here. But you don't have to go to therapy every time something's wrong, right? Yeah. You don't have to go because you had a life catastrophe. Like, you don't have to go every time something's wrong. For instance, I've been with Miss Flowers since, it's been 2 years now. Wow. We talk once a month. Maybe twice a month, just depending on how I feel. And I'm able to reach out to her in the interim and just if I need her support. But I would say mental health has taught me that your emotions can fluctuate. The current climate where we are in with the massive killings of Black and brown people, COVID-19, quarantine, all of that. This is a space where mental health has been a priority for so many now. And I think it's because we've had the opportunity to sit still because we can keep ourselves busy. We can keep everything going just to get our minds off of it. But when you're forced to sit in it and sit in your mess and sit in who you are, that's when the real comes out. And I would just say go. And it can be a conversation. It doesn't have to be a diagnostic exam of your whole life, but what are your goals? What do you want to do? What's next for you?
Yeah. No, that's a very valid point. And just as you said, 2020 alone was enough for people to go to therapy. Like just the things that have happened on a global scale. I think that it is required us to have a lot of conversations about things. And this is actually my third point. I think it is great to be able to utilize the support system of people that you have in your life, but it's also important to recognize that your support system, your friends, your family, your loved ones are not trained professionals. it cannot be I don't want to say scapegoats per se, but it's like that can't be, oh, this is my therapy because I talk to my best friend every day or I talk to my mom. Like, that's great. And I'm not saying that you should stop doing that, but it has taught me to recognize the difference between who is your support system versus someone who is here to support you through your thought process. And that has been what therapy is for me. And I will also say, full disclosure, I am someone who is more private. So I don't necessarily have those conversations with people. I have more personal private conversations with my therapist than I do with people who are considered my support system. But it has just reminded me in the sense of I had a like shame and guilt mindset surrounding therapy initially, because especially as someone who is a Christian, for a long time, there was this mindset of, I feel like if I seek out a professional, then that means I don't trust God. Or if I am going to someone to talk to about my problems, I should be praying about it instead. And I will say this, no one specifically told me that, but that was what I had in my mind. And that was a whole lie that I had to break down, because I honestly got to a point, this was like 6-7 years ago, that I talked about in my first book, of just dealing a lot with depression and anxiety and feeling like, full disclosure, I'm praying, I'm doing what I know to do as a Christian, and nothing's happening, nothing's changing. I'm still feeling the same way. And understanding that you can have your relationship with God and also have a therapist. It does not have to be one or the other. And I truly do believe that God puts people in our lives who are trained, who know what they are doing, who have the ability to help us to unlock a lot of things that we've been trying to unlock for years, that can help us to be able to heal from things that we've been carrying for a long time. So something that I had to learn throughout my therapy process is that although it is definitely great to have your own support system who you can talk to, it's also important to recognize that those people go through stuff too. Not to say that your therapists don't. Therapists have therapists themselves, but your people go through things too. And I'm not saying that, it got to be a tit for tat of who has it worse, not by any means, but sometimes it is hard to process someone else's stuff when you have your own stuff going on, versus someone is like, this is your job. Like, this is what I'm paying you for, to be able to be present in this way. So that's something that's been a good lesson for me.
I think that's great, Angel. Also, I want to add on to one thing you said, creating space for someone outside of your circle to talk to you. And I think sometimes, well, I'll speak for myself, it can feel like a burden if I'm talking. Like, I'll call Angel every day, all day. Angel, let me tell you what happened. And Angel has her stuff. And I don't want to feel like I'm telling her everything and then I'm not listening to her, right? But if I talk to my therapist, that's their position. That's their job in my life, is to listen to me. And Miss Flowers often says, that's why I'm here. And I think that's important. Like, I'm here for you. And I think in my life, I'll speak upon me, I feel like I have to be everybody. And there's no one that's there for just me. And so for that hour, for once a month or once every 2 weeks, she made time for me. And I can talk as long as I want to. And there's some times where I talk the whole time and she may not say anything. And she was like, so how do you feel? And I'm like, I feel better, but it's that person. And I have one thing I want to say about therapists. They don't tell you what to do.
Right.
They're not like, leave him, leave that job, here's my theory, not a train. we automatically go with, like, we're born with this knowing. However, sometimes we need professionals who are trained into helping to guide us to that knowing, guide us back to our true selves, back to that child within us. And out of all the therapists I've seen, no one has said, Jamia, you need to do this, you need to do that, do this and do that. They're very much patient. Because it's very hard for me to go to someone and I'm expressing how I feel, and then for you to say, I don't know why you do it in the first place, but they create a space for you to think about your thoughts.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's good.
They create a place to think about your thoughts.
Yeah.
And to validate your thoughts.
Mm-hmm. And I love what you brought up in regards to always being something and someone for everybody else. And I think specifically as women, we're so used to wearing so many different hats that to have I will say for me, going to therapy initially, it felt awkward to have someone that it's like I'm pouring all of my stuff out, and it's not like they're not doing that to me. And I remember when I first started working with Shanita, we were gonna be like, so how are you doing? And she was like, how are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, oh, this is for me. Okay.
But I think it goes back to this idea of whatever you do for me, I have to do back to you, right? In order for this relationship or this partnership to work, you have to feel okay and I have to feel okay. Mm-hmm. And I think that's something as women I am working on. I don't always have to give you something because you gave me something. Mm-hmm. But that's kind of how we were taught. Like, if you want to be someone's friend, you have to share. But we have to change that mentality too.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you said that.
Yeah, that's good. All right. My fourth, are we on 4? Yes. My fourth lesson from therapy is that the worst case scenario is not really as bad as we make it out to be. So I am somebody I am an overthinker. Like, I get into my head, I create whole scenarios, like from beginning to end. And I get like really anxious about things that have not even happened yet, that may never even happen. And therapy has definitely helped me to be able to work through that. And I'm still working through it. This is not something I have mastered by any means. But I'll give you all an example. Last year, I think it was like October, November, I was asked to preach at my church. And although this is something I had done previously for years at my church in Harrisonburg, it's not something I had done at my current church. And something I had not done in a while, to be honest. And so I was super anxious about it. And I remember talking to my therapist about it after I had recorded it. And I told her, although like I had not seen the playback or anything for it, I wasn't pleased with it because I felt like I got too in my head, and it was a lot of things. I'm very self-critical. That's something I'm also working on. And so it was just certain things that I wasn't pleased with that I was like picking apart. And she was like, okay, Angel, so worst case scenario, you like completely bombed your word. Now what? They don't ask you to speak at church again? Okay. And I was like, I mean, that's right. But she was like, okay.
Yeah.
I'm like, people might talk about you until there's something else to talk about. Okay, now what?
And Angel, your sermons are always great. And she's also the Beyonce at her church. And
I'm really not.
Solos.
I am not at all.
I should have been there for Easter service. It was like a whole concert in there.
We've moved into a new building, guys. But I'm just like that type of person who I have high expectations of people, and that includes myself. And as a result of that, I am very nitpicky, very detail oriented, very critical of things, which falls into me learning to be kind to myself and give myself grace. But I realized that I do overthink things for sure. I definitely get way too in my head. And my anxiety it makes things significantly bigger than it ever really is. And just like having those conversations, because that was not the only time we've had the conversation of worst case scenario, this happens, that happens. But we go through that a lot because of how I'm always overthinking things. And it's like, okay, worst case scenario, this happens. Yeah. And like when you say it like that and you start going through like, okay, nobody listens to my podcast, nobody does this. It's like, okay, You start
Yeah.
over, you do something else. Like,
Yeah.
it's not the end of the world, but when
Yeah.
you're in the middle of it, it can feel like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, my life is going to be over. This is going to be the thing that ends me. And it's like, no, it's not.
Yeah.
It's really significantly smaller than we ever make it.
Absolutely.
Don't sweat the small stuff, and it's all
Yeah.
small stuff.
Pray big, worry small.
Yes.
I have that on top of my stove, but it's true. Like, and going back to what you said, like in that moment, things are magnified. Because that's just how it feels like. It's literally 5 things at once that happen, and they all feel really big. And so one thing I just started getting into, like, planting, and I'm a plant mom.
Okay, green thumb.
I don't think it's green thumb. But one thing I noticed was the more attention I paid to my flowers, whether it was just, or plants, whether it was just like giving them more water or talking to them, or, you know, they began to grow. And so the more attention you give something, it grows. And so Angel knows about a situation. I've given it no more attention, right? And so now it's just like, it doesn't matter anymore. And so in our heads, in our thoughts, making sure that we know how to categorize that and know what's important and what's not. And sometimes it feels like everything's important. But if you sit back and think about what is something that I can give my full energy to that I know that will benefit me in the long run.
Yeah.
So that's just a lesson I learned just from flowers. Like, we all need water. Drink all of your water and mind your business. But drinking more water has been important for me. And just paying close attention to myself and like what I want to do and what I want to do then and now. One thing is just truly important, just like a life lesson. But one thing with flowers always tells me is just to listen to yourself. And the moment something doesn't feel right, it's not right. And I like to say, like, I know everything. And that's something like that internal guide. And she always says that. She was like, if it's not right, if it doesn't feel right, it's not right. And you can walk in a situation, walk in a room, walk here, and something will literally like stop you and say, no, this isn't, leave, go. And that is your internal, like, spirit, the Holy Spirit, it's God, it's whatever is telling you don't do something. And the moment we ignore that sign, we are not being true to ourselves. We are not in alignment to who we are. And we welcome things that could possibly harm us. Angel knows everything. But there was a situation where I knew it wasn't right? My body completely stopped. I was walking and I stopped and I was just like, this is not okay. And I kept going anyways. And so as a result, things happen. But there's always a small, still voice. And I will say the more I listen to that, whether it makes sense or not, whether it feels right or not. And I'll say this one example. I was traveling last weekend and like God told me just to like tip the bus driver. I'm like, I ain't tip, like, I'm ready to go home. But something told me to do it. And it's like, God, help me to listen to the small voices. It's not about the money. Like, money comes and goes, right? But money in that moment, money chases me down. That's one of my daily meditations. But it was just do it. And like, do it and don't question it. If something's not right, listen to it and don't question it. Don't try to, well, I mean, it's going to be okay. And like, we try to rationale our crazy. It's not okay. Like, it's not okay. So I would say therapy has taught me in life, listen to your first gut instinct about things. It will save you a lot of headache and hell on earth just by
Seriously.
listening to yourself. And we know, but we do what we want to do, right? So I would definitely say that just do that. Listen and meditate in the morning. I meditate. It's like a quick self-guided meditation in the morning. Hey House on iTunes podcast, and it's about abundance. Amazing, 2 minutes. But in the morning, I set the intention to be quiet throughout the day so I can listen. And also on Spotify, Grown Woman. It's I'll put it in the link in the bio. I always want to do that, Angel.
Send it to me. I'll make sure to add it.
Right. Thanks for adding it. But it's this constant throughout the day. She has music, right? But in the music, it's affirmation about being a Black woman. And so I'll end this with that. Just like, what are you putting inside of you? Like, who is talking to you? Who is encouraging you, or who is telling you who you are? And if we're looking for it in a friend or anyone else and not the right people, we could be taking in all the wrong things. So being quiet, listening to yourself has been really important for me. One of the lessons I've learned through therapy.
And I think too that in that lesson, it helps you to like fine tune that voice, because sometimes we have so many different distractions and things going on in our minds that it's hard to be, your body may be telling you, trying to tell you something, but sometimes it can be hard to interpret it because you have so many other things that are distracting you. And therapy definitely can help with you being able to really be able to fine tune that voice. So I love that. All right. My last lesson from therapy is
it's almost over. I like this.
I can have you back for next season.
Next season?
Yeah. Season 2 about to be a wrap. FYI, y'all. It's about to be a wrap. I think we got like 4 more episodes. But my last lesson from therapy is that it's helped me to give myself permission to not be strong, because I feel like I have always not forced myself per se, but I've just naturally taken on this role of I have to be strong. I have to have it together. I have to carry everybody else's weight. And going through the last 2 years with Shanita, I would say the last year actually, specifically with her, like we have had some sessions where I've just been crying and she was like, I'm going to pray for you. And that was our session. And we've had times where it's really, let me also say this. I am the type of person who I tend to go through things alone, and then I share it with people after I've figured it out myself or after I've dealt with it. And therapy has forced me to be honest with other people about what I'm currently encountering and experiencing versus sharing it with them after the fact. And I can honestly say that therapy exposed for me how I don't utilize the people in my life because I utilize myself. And that is a pressure on myself that I don't have to carry. And so just being able to give myself permission to say, I don't have to have it all together all the time. I don't have to be strong all the time. And even as we were talking about earlier, being sensitive or not being strong, we tend to equate that to being weak, as though not being strong all the time is a negative thing, when in reality, it takes strength to not be strong all the time, that in itself. But really just being able to break down the barriers and mindset associated with being a strong Black woman, with being a woman in itself, to break down the different mindsets that I've carried just based off of what I thought strength looked like, and really just trying to establish a new normal for myself of I don't have to carry all this weight. I don't have to carry all this pressure. And even being able to have really honest conversations about the burden of just being a woman and realizing that there are certain things that I suppress or certain things that I don't do or that I do or that I don't say or that I say as a woman, being able to really have those conversations and to break down a lot of the different mindsets that I've carried has really helped to lift a lot of just a lot of pressure off of myself of what I felt like this is who I'm supposed to be as a woman, or this is what I'm supposed to look like. This is what I'm supposed to sound like. This is supposed to be my voice, and realizing that that was not authentic to who I am.
I want to comment on one thing you said about how a woman is supposed to look, right? And so, growing up with a Black mother from North Side, Virginia, North Side of Richmond, it's interesting, right? And so her experience as a child is who she is as an adult, right? I've been teaching children since 2012, and adults are nothing but tall children. And I saw my mom, take on the pressures of the world and be so unhappy. And so I think for me, I learned that you have to put yourself first, whether that looks like a day off, whether that looks like saying no, even with children, because I also saw her like be really strong on the outside, but be really broken on the inside, because you can't have, and I always tell Angel this, I feel like a juggler at the Soul Circus, like work, dating, going to the gym, drinking my water, like it's just, and every single week, one of those balls drop, right? And so I'm trying to also be happy. I'm trying to also be me. And you're trying to encompass all these things at once, and you're still unhappy. And so when you mentioned the part of being strong, this week I was not strong at all. I don't know why. I just didn't feel strong. And Angel was like, it's okay not to be okay. And I think what you said, strength doesn't always look like you have it all together. Strength looks like I don't feel good. But I think
like crying sometimes.
Yeah, I cried. I cried every day this week, actually. I feel bad is strength. I feel good is strength. Strength doesn't always have to have a smile on your face. Strength doesn't always have to have, I have everything together. Because we don't.
Yeah.
So I love what you said, like, especially as a Black mother, you teach Black girls to be strong, to do whatever it takes. And although there's some truth to that, it's also not honoring how we really feel. And when people ask you how you're doing, I was at work this week and Angel said, hey, Jermia, how you doing? I said, I'm fine. And she said, what's wrong? I said, everything's wrong. But it was like, we're just so programmed to say, like, I'm fine when you're really not.
Yeah.
And there is strength and there's power in saying, no, I'm not okay.
Yeah.
And I think, but we have to find those people who we can feel safe enough to say that around. Because I've been in some friendships where, oh, here you go, you're crying again. You're so sensitive. Jermia, get together. And I'm just like, I'm going to let my feelings be what they are this week.
Yeah.
And if I want to cry, I'm going to cry. I don't know. It wasn't nothing horrible going on. It was just things were coming out. And I think in the past, I wanted to end it or I wanted to suppress it or just kind of let it go. But for the first time, I really just let it be.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And I think too that as women, we're often associated with being the nurturers. We're associated with being the ones who are the encouragers and all of that. And at times I feel like as women, we're not always given permission to have our emotions to be the full spectrum, if that makes sense. So let me elaborate. I feel like we are oftentimes expected to be fine. We're oftentimes expected to be the ones who are strong, who are to encourage and all of that. And to be the opposite of that in any way, to fall anywhere else on the spectrum. Well, what's wrong? Like, what do you have to be upset about? Or what? I'll never forget being at a church service. And this was not said to me. It was said to someone that I know. And a girl went up for prayer, and there was a pastor, and he was a male pastor, and he asked her what she needed prayer for. I don't know specifically what she said. And he said something along the lines of, but you so pretty. What could you have? Like, what kind of troubles could you have? And I was like, vexed my spirit. But in all seriousness, it's like there's this idea that because you have a good job, because you're pretty, because you look this, because you have money, because you're this, that, or the fourth, it's like you can't feel anything. You can't be upset. You can't hurt. You can't be angry. You can't have any other emotion. You're supposed to be happy. You're supposed to be the one who is encouraging people. You're supposed to be the one who has it all together. And I feel like that mindset has been so instilled in us because that is what we've seen growing up. For some of us, our parents, we've seen our mom always smiling, always happy, but then seeing or overhearing things that were supposed to be in private of them completely falling apart. And so we are now trained to believe that you don't show yourself falling apart. You show yourself happy. You show yourself put together. But if you need to cry, if you're hurting, if you're experiencing any of that, you hide and do that, as though that can't be shown as well.
One thing I want to add on, I love what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. One thing you said was you have all this and you are still unhappy, or not unhappy, but in that moment or in that space, you just weren't yourself. There are things that I've prayed to God for that I currently have. And I'm like, I have it. Thank you so much. However, I feel overwhelmed. You can pray and ask God for things and still be overwhelmed with what you got. And there's nothing wrong.
And you can be grateful for what you got.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, it's okay to ask what you want, get it, and still feel uneasy about it. Or how do I manage it? There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with saying, I'm a little bit overwhelmed, but thank you. And I'm appreciative, but in this moment, it's a lot to go. It's a lot. And so I think that goes back to just what we're taught. Like, you're now ungrateful for what you have because you're complaining about what you have. And it's not about complaining. It's just, I'm expressing how I'm currently feeling. Yeah. I'm like, this is a lot. Yeah. And that's okay. I also think one last thing. I think the times when our parents raised us was a different time for Black women. I think in the workplace, I think now more than ever, people of color voices are being heard on the workplace, and they're able to express how they feel. And I think, in my experience, they're a lot more accepted. Maybe it's just my location. But I remember my mom just really, being younger, like hating her job and feeling like she couldn't say what she wanted to say. And I think I internalized that and did the opposite. And so whenever I have an issue at work, Angel knows, I'm like, oh no, like, we ain't gonna do this. I'm very quick to say, like, I don't like that. And it's supported. And so I wonder if our parents' frustrations with life, because you're at work more than you're at home, was about work, but they didn't have a safe place, or they were not supported at work to open up and really express how they feel, because there's this notion of, I'm gonna be out of a job, I got kids to feed, I got a house, I got a car, whereas it's just me. And one thing about me is I'm gonna be good, and I'm gonna find me another job. I think that's always my mentality. I'm like, I'll find another job, but I don't have any children. But our parents had us a house. They had. Not saying that we don't have any responsibilities, but having a family is a next level responsibility.
Oh yeah.
So, and maybe a home was the only place where they could really be their full selves, right? Yeah.
No, that is all very valid points.
Yeah.
And we took a turn there. I took the turn, but it was a much needed turn. But it also goes back to this awareness that comes from being in therapy, because some things that you experienced as a child in your household growing up, you accepted it as the norm because that's what you knew. Yeah. And going to therapy helps to break down the things that may have been the norm, but still unhealthy.
And not right. And not okay.
Yeah.
And also, I know, Angel, we're over time. 3-hour session. I love talking to Angel, but even the notion of being the only one in your family that's actually going to therapy, and
that's a whole episode in itself.
When the whole family needs edit that be in therapy. I'm in therapy for my mom and my daddy. I'm like, everybody need to be in here. Everybody needs to be in here. Ayana, if you listen to this, please come save my family.
She said she done fixing labs. This is the final season.
She said she was done, but being the only one that's seeking mental clarity through counseling is difficult.
It is.
My friends go, my family doesn't go, and they need to go. And so certain triggers that they'll do, that things that trigger me, I'm like, if you were to go to counseling, you would be self-aware that you're doing that. But yeah.
And I will say,
go to counseling.
Yeah, seriously. I will say that going to therapy, it exposes in conversation people who do not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It becomes very evident very easily of like, oh, you should go to therapy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not whole. You need to go seek therapy. And not saying that I am this perfect person, but I do think I move in life very differently and very strategically, because I'm self-aware of who I am and where I am on my journey. Mm-hmm. And when you're just living life, la la, and you're doing what you want to do, you're not conscious of others.
Yeah.
What you say and how you say it.
Yeah.
When you say it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
That's that. That's it? No. Yeah. I mean, that's. Yeah. But this has been a great conversation. I knew that she would be great for this. When I first told her the topic, she was like, I'm like, you'll be fine. Like this, I feel like this is an area that you would have good insight on. Yeah. So as we are wrapping up, I did want to give a couple of sites for anybody who may be interested in getting therapy, may not know where to start. For Black women specifically, there's a website, therapyforblackgirls.com, and I'll link everything in the description box below. BetterHelp.com is another one that they do virtual sessions. Also, if you have health insurance, check through your health insurance. A lot of times it is covered. If it's not fully covered, a portion of it is covered. So definitely check with your health insurance and see. Also, just doing a Google search. I will say this. I don't 100% condone doing a hashtag search. However, that is how I found my life coach. So definitely do your research, look at reviews and everything to make sure that people are legit, because there are people when it comes to social media who have a platform that they created themselves but may not have the credentials to be doing the work that they are doing. So please do your research if you do go that route. It worked out for me. Do not come at me if it does not work out for you. Do your research, look at reviews, investigate, do what you need to do to make sure that it's somebody who would be a good fit for you. And I know for a lot of people, sometimes people don't feel comfortable going in person. You have this idea you're going to be laid out on a couch. I never do that when I was going in person. I think media makes it a whole lot more dramatic than it actually is. But with COVID, a lot of things are virtual right now. So most of it, you can do it at your house. I know for myself, initially when I first started counseling, because I live with other people, I didn't necessarily want to do it at home. So I would go to like Panera sometimes and put my headphones in, do it from my laptop there. So there are definitely ways to work around it if you need to for privacy and all of that. So yes. All right. Jermia, before we wrap up, did you have any last minute words?
Yes, I did. I want to say it could take several sessions, several weeks, several months until you feel like, okay, like I'm making progress.
Yeah.
It's a relationship that you're building, and you're getting to know a stranger, strangers getting to know you. So there's this stigma that, oh, I go to one session and whew, I'm good to go.
Fixed.
No, it is a continuous relationship. Mm-hmm. I will say that the journey to you is always ever evolving. Mm-hmm. What you think you may need today, you may not need tomorrow. But just being true to that. I found my therapist through my church. And they have an entire First Baptist of Glenarden in Glenarden, Maryland. And they have an entire counseling department. So it's definitely like my therapist is Christian based, but I have gone to therapists who are through my insurance, but she's not through my insurance. So, and it's free. It's through my church. So there are definitely people out there that really want to help you be your best self. And it's okay not to be okay. And it's okay to ask for help when you need it. Thank you, Angel, for this. You know, I love you. I'm super proud of you. And thank you for having me. Follow me at Locked and Loaded.
I was going to say, would you like to share? Are you going to accept people? Because her profile is private and she won't accept our friend requests. So. I'm just saying.
Locked and Loaded, LOCD.
I'll put it in the description box.
LOADED.
Yeah, she is not on Facebook. She is on Instagram. I'm not on Facebook, no. Are you on Twitter? I'm not on Twitter. Okay.
I don't know. No, I think I had one when I was younger, but I don't check it. So.
I deleted mine. Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much, Jermia, for joining me. I hope you all, got something that you took away from this conversation. If you have questions about therapy, I'm pretty open about most things. So you can feel free to send me an email, changeheartsquestions@gmail.com. You can DM me on Instagram. You can message me on Facebook. I really don't be checking my messages on Facebook. So it might be like a while before I respond, but I check my DMs on Instagram and I do check my email daily. So feel free to shoot me an email or DM if you have any questions or want suggestions or anything like that. Feel free to hit me up. But until next time, be whole, be healed, and be authentic. Bye. Thank you so much for tuning into a Change of Heart podcast. I hope you were encouraged, and please take a moment to share with a girlfriend, and don't forget to download the episode. Lastly, I would love to connect with you. You can follow me on Instagram at Angel C. Walston and at A Change of Heart podcast. Have an amazing week, and don't forget, be whole, be healed, and be authentic.